In 1971, a modest storefront opened in Seattle's Pike Place Market. It sold whole coffee beans, teas, and spices. No cafe, no espresso machines, just bags of dark roasted beans. Three friends had an idea, but no one saw what was coming. The trio, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel, and Gordon Bowker, were inspired by a man named Alfred Peet. Peet introduced them to rich, dark roasted coffee that was miles away from the bland drip most Americans drank. They wanted to share that flavor with Seattle. They named their shop after Starbuck, the first made in Moby Dick, a nod to the seafaring history of coffee. But it wasn't until a young man named Howard Schultz walked in that Starbucks' story truly began. He didn't just see beans. He saw something bigger. Howard Schultz was a New York native, born in a Brooklyn housing project. His father was a truck driver, often out of work. Schultz vowed to escape poverty through ambition. In 1982, he joined Starbucks as head of marketing. Everything changed from there. On a trip to Milan in 1983, Schultz had his epiphany. He watched Italians sip espresso at charming cafes, not just drinking coffee, but connecting. He realized Starbucks wasn't selling an experience. He wanted to bring Italian coffee culture back to America. Schultz pitched his vision. Turn Starbucks into a cafe, serve espresso, cappuccinos, lattes. The founders said no. They weren't cafe people. They sold beans. Undeterred, Schultz left and opened his own coffee bar in 1985. He called it Il Giornale. Il Giornale was a hit. Schultz proved his idea worked. When Starbucks founders decided to sell in 1987, Schultz raised $3.8 million, much from local investors, and bought the company. He merged his cafe with the bean business. Starbucks, as we know it, was born. From there, a new mission took hold. Create a third place, not home, not work, but a place to relax. Starbucks became more than coffee. It became community, and people loved it. Schultz opened new stores, first in Chicago, then Vancouver, then across the US. In the 1990s, Starbucks exploded. It opened hundreds of stores a year. By 2000, there were over 3,500 Starbucks worldwide. People weren't just drinking coffee. They were joining a culture. The green mermaid logo became a global symbol of urban cool. Starbucks didn't just sell coffee. It introduced Americans to espresso drinks, to frappuccinos, to ordering in Italian-sounding sizes. Venti, grande, tall. It was confusing, but it stuck. Starbucks wasn't just changing habits. It was reshaping a daily ritual. When Starbucks went public in 1992, its stock soared. Investors loved the growth. Schultz was hailed as a visionary. He said, "We're not in the coffee business serving people. We're in the people business serving coffee." It was more than a catchphrase. Starbucks also changed how coffee was sourced. It committed to ethical trade, supporting farmers, and pushing sustainable practices. While critics questioned its true impact, Starbucks was one of the first major brands to talk openly about sourcing and social responsibility. But success brought challenges. By 2007, Starbucks had over 13,000 stores. Growth became bloated. Quality slipped. Schultz had stepped down as CEO in 2000, but watched uneasily as the brand he built lost its soul. He knew something had to be done. Then came the crash. In 2008, the financial crisis hit hard. Starbucks closed 600 stores. Thousands lost jobs. For the first time, the coffee giant looked vulnerable. Schultz returned as CEO. He had one mission: revive the company he once saved. His first move? He shut down every US store for one day to retrain baristas. It cost millions, but sent a message: quality mattered more than speed. Starbucks wasn't fast food. It was an experience, and that experience had to be rebuilt. He overhauled operations, introduced new products, launched mobile ordering. Starbucks embraced digital tools, but kept the human touch. Schultz said, "You can't digitize the human spirit." A reminder that tech should serve people, not the other way around. The green apron, the symbol of every barista, was reimagined. Starbucks focused again on employee training, benefits, and culture. Schultz believed if you take care of your people, they'll take care of the customers. It wasn't just strategy, it was philosophy. By 2010, Starbucks was back. Stronger, wiser, more focused. It expanded globally. China, India, the Middle East. Each store was tailored to local tastes. While critics called it corporate coffee, Starbucks learned to listen, adapt, and evolve. And hey, if you've ever ordered a $6 latte with your name spelled wrong, you've lived the Starbucks experience. Speaking of names, if you can pronounce macchiato, you're ready to hit that subscribe button. Just saying, behind the scenes, Starbucks doubled down on ethical sourcing. It invested in farmer support centers, climate-resilient coffee, and community development. The company said 99% of its coffee was ethically sourced by 2015, a figure still debated, but undeniably ambitious. It also took social stands, supporting marriage equality, offering college tuition for employees, holding open forums on race. For better or worse, Starbucks wasn't just a coffee shop anymore. It was a platform. And that made it both admired and attacked. Controversies followed. In 2018, 2 black men were arrested in a Philadelphia store for not ordering. The backlash was swift. Starbucks closed 8,000 stores for racial bias training. It was damage control, but also accountability. Schultz called it a defining moment. That same year, Schultz stepped down again. Some thought he'd run for president. He didn't, but his legacy was clear. He turned a small Seattle shop into a global empire. Starbucks had over 30,000 stores in 80 countries. Yet the world kept changing. New competitors rose. COVID-19 hit. Starbucks had to pivot. Again. Drive-thrus, delivery, app orders. Fewer people sat inside, but coffee remained essential. The ritual evolved. So did Starbucks. It always has. Through it all, one thing never changed. The barista behind the counter, calling your name. Sometimes wrong, often with a smile. That human connection, it's the real secret ingredient. Starbucks sells coffee, yes, but mostly it sells moments. And it all started in Seattle. One store, 3 friends, a dream. Then a young man who saw not just coffee, but possibility. Schultz once said, "Dream more than others think practical." That dream now spans the globe in green and white. Starbucks is not without flaws. It's been called overpriced, overhyped, overdone. But it's also been called revolutionary. A place where millions start their mornings, meet friends, find jobs, or just escape the world for a moment. From housing projects in Brooklyn to boardrooms in Seattle, from Italian espresso bars to worldwide cafes, the journey of Starbucks is one of vision, failure, reinvention, and coffee. Always coffee. Because some stories aren't just brewed, they're built, cup by cup. And maybe that's the real story here. Not just about a brand or a CEO, but about how something as simple as coffee can connect us, comfort us, and remind us every day that even the smallest rituals can spark something big.